Now, the fight for women's rights started way back before 1962 when Uganda gained her independence. But how do we know this if we do not speak to these iconic women? Welcome to my YouTube channel, My Untold Story. My name is Biryomumaisho, and this is our first episode. Today we are speaking about fight for women's rights. Now, I'm glad to be speaking to this woman who has been here from 1933. Joyce Mpanga speaks about her memoir, It's a Pity She's Not a Boy. Now, born in Mityana district, Joyce Mpanga was a village girl who did not know that she could rise to where she is today. She has become a household name.
You see, to begin with, I left my own home and went to my grandparents. I don't even remember when they took me. I was very young. Then at about 5, they plucked me out back into her. At that time when I came to her, I didn't even know her. But my father kept visiting us at my grandparents' home. And his coming was always a joy to me because he would bring you sweets, he would bring you bread, he would come, put you on his lap and so on. So I can say I didn't really know my mother until I was about 5. And then there were two different people. My mother never wanted to show you she loves you because she used to tell us that she feared that we may be spoiled. So my mother was a very strict disciplinarian. She would give you a beating. I think she only beat me once. But for the father, he was kind. He would explain it to you. He would then tell you, like that time he told me, you shouldn't have done this. And I understood I shouldn't have done it. And he would say, now come and say sorry to your mother and tell her I will not do it again. You see the difference between the two. In the home, most of the decisions were being done by the father.
Now, Mpanga went through a lot from the time she was young, being told that she was too intelligent for a girl. She should have been born a boy. So she tells us her story in her memoir.
That title comes from my maternal grandfather. I told you I was the firstborn of my mother, and my mother was only 18 when I was born. And soon after they discovered that my brother who comes next to me, Kanyerezi, was also coming. So her parents said, and her in-laws, most of them liked to stay with them in their house. So she had quite a crowded home to deal with, and she was young. My grandfather was very loving and was really doted on us. But if you did anything that he thought was clever, he would just say, I can't make that. Can you make that? You do it. That's it. You'd make it a very loud one. It's a pity this girl was not born a boy. She's very intelligent. What is that intelligence for? It's going to be wasted in a woman.
Because women back then wouldn't do something as big as boys.
She didn't think a woman should be very clever. And if you are clever, it's wasted. Because he asked, is she going to be a secretary to the district commissioner, or can she become an interpreter? Those were two professions in the government that he thought were taken by clever people.
Oh, not women.
So being a woman, you can't take it, so it's a waste. What is she going to use it for?
In her tribute, the Queen of Buganda, Sylvia Nagginda, describes Mpanga as a lady with enormous foresight and intellect, whose achievements are etched in Uganda's pre- and post-independence history. Joyce attended Ndeje School, Gayaza High School, where she would later return as a deputy head teacher, and also went to Makerere University before heading to the United States, where she did her master's.
There is an interesting story between you going, living in Ndeje and going to Gayaza, of you being like the best in school and
Well,
your
in my
father
school,
slaughtering goats
in my
and-
school, I can say I was the best for that year. But they collected other. There were so many primary sixes everywhere
in the whole country.
in the whole country. In Gayaza, we had a Miss Cox who was the head of the secondary section. Schools then were divided according to religion. If you were what is now the Church of Uganda, you belong to what we call the Native Anglican Church. If you were Catholic, you belong to the Roman Catholic. So if you were in a school that was Catholic, I probably would have gone to Namagunga or Nabingo, which were Catholic. Since I was a Protestant, I went to Gayaza. That was the Protestant school.
How did you receive the news of your results? Back then, were there telephones? Was it through a letter?
There were
Coming
no
from the school?
telephones. The school wrote to my father. Ndeje wrote to my father and told him I had passed P6 well. I have been given a scholarship to go to Gayaza. Gayaza wrote to my father that they had accepted me into junior 1. And receiving that news was really exciting. I was in a Mitiana then. My father was deputy to Mkwenda, which is the Saza of Singo. That was the headquarters. It was the headquarters for the church, headquarters for the primary schools and so on. So in the church, the rural dean announced to the whole congregation, our daughter got a place at Gayaza and she got a scholarship. So all jubilation from all my community. This was a community, it was one section, there were no Catholics. Then from there I went to Gayaza. After that I wanted to go to Mengo Hospital as a nurse, but they said I was 1 year below what they take. I was 15, and they didn't take you until you are 16 or after. Because they said you are too young, 15, to become a nurse. You have to lift patients, you have to do this and that. So they said, you go and wait somewhere, you come back when you are 16.
So what happens after Gayaza?
I went back to Gayaza for 1 other year. I thought it would be for 1 other year. But when I went to Gayaza, then Gayaza decided we shall be their pioneer class to take O-level. So from secondary 4, we moved into secondary 5, then into secondary 6, and we took the O-level exam. And the headmistress used to tell me, if you are not taken by Makerere as the first city, you come back and repeat. And I said, no, this woman is joking. I'm not going to come back. I was going to go to Bulova, which was a teacher training, because I had changed from nursing then to teaching. Fortunately, Makerere took me after my O-level.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have A-level at that time, but Makerere had 2 years below, equivalent of A-level, and it used to be called intermediate of London University. It was an intermediate examination of London University. Makerere was a college of London University. So the curricula, the exams, the correction used to be sent to England for examination. Then after the 2 years, intermediate, I passed, so they let me start my BA.
Being a strong woman and the youngest female MP at the time, when Mpanga gave her first speech in Parliament, very many people were impressed, including the former Kyabazinga of Busoga, Nadiope, who told her that she had spoken like a man. But she stood her ground, and Mpanga said, "No, I spoke as a woman." However, the Kyabazinga told her that she had left other women behind, but she insisted that she was a woman. She'd later be introduced to other female MPs who by then were a little bit older than her to make her feel at home in the house.
Austin Mukenya quoted my speech in that book, and I've seen it. Maybe if I go back to Hansard, I will find it. I spoke, but I remember I lamented about little money given to education. I told you, Obote has told me you were the shadow minister of education. So I lamented about the little money they've given to education. I've told them, give little money to education. It means fewer girls will be educated because the parents will choose to leave the boys in school if they don't have money. Then I also talked about the education of the disabled. And I finished. And I told you, Nadiope, the Kyabazinga of Busoga was the father of my friend. So when I finished, he comes out, holds me in his broad. My daughter, you spoke like a man. And I don't know why that went into me. And I said, sir, like the woman I am. He said, no, you've left the women very far. And you won't be able to represent them here. And yet, I had been nominated to become a representative for the women. He tells me you want to represent them. So I come and tell Sarah, until Sarah Ntilo was Nyendoha. Sarah Nyendoha, she was not married yet. So Sarah says, I'll take you to where women meet and talk about their problems.
So also Parliament was divided into men have their section, women also meet in their own small meetings.
You see, we were only 3 women. So naturally, I'm the only woman on this side. Naturally, I also talked to this one. And we had met the 3 of us and said, when it's something to do with women or girls, we shall all gang on the same side. We shall support each other. So I went across to Sarah for support and comfort. This was outside Parliament.
Does that mean that before you joined, they didn't have any other female members?
They had female members, primary teachers, but no graduate. The graduate teachers were very few.
The female graduate teachers?
Even the second general, they were very few, because they were mainly people who had either been through Makerere, got a scholarship and went to UK and did further education and so on. So I joined as a member of the executive. I used to join them to go to Entebbe to argue for our salaries and tell the governor we would like to send this delegation to UK. But during that year, 61, there were many other workers who wanted to go to London to argue their salaries.
Other different professionals.
Different professions. So the governor said, no, the colonial secretary of state, Lawrence, has decided to come out because you are many. Otherwise it's expensive for nothing.
Who was supposed to be paying for your trip? Was it the government?
Uganda African Teachers Association would have paid for our trip. Yeah.
It must have been so expensive to fly from Entebbe to
And I don't know how many they were going to take, but anyway, I was going to be one of them. So when he came over, they sent somebody called Lawrence as the head of the commission. So we went to the Lawrence Commission to argue our salaries and argue for unifying the teaching profession. And I think it made sense because Lawrence's recommendation was to unite all the teaching profession so that you are graduate teacher, you are European, because Europeans were civil servants and they were getting a salary different scale. And they were getting conditions which were different.
Their living conditions were better than.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, unlike many feminists today who are being accused of telling young women not to get married because it's all a scam, Joyce Mpanga was married to the late former Attorney General of the Kingdom of Buganda, lawyer Fred Mpanga. They had children and some of them have become household names, including David Mpanga, a lawyer who followed in his father's footsteps. Joyce Mpanga shares with us how she met her husband, their dating life, and how they got married.
In all this, we don't see you dating from the time you're at Makerere, you enter the legislative. When do you start dating? When do you meet your husband?
You date. Dating is just like, it's normal. A normal stage of growth when you become a girl.
So did you date a lot?
I did, but Buganda women don't talk about their dating. Not when I have children also. And they sit there and wait and see, I dated with so and so. No, we don't say that. You only talk about the man you married.
Okay. So
anyway.
When do you meet your when do you meet your husband?
When did I meet my husband? I got to know my husband not as a date to begin with, as a cousin of friends of mine. And then his mother was living in Luwafu. You know Luwafu?
Yes, okay.
And we have moved into Makindi. We used the same church, that church there with his mother. So I knew him. And he was already in Mengo. But he used to come to Gayaza to see his cousins. And I thought he was coming to see his cousins. For him, he told me he was also trying his luck to see if he would talk to me. But when I moved into Makerere, then I've left. His cousin who was with me at Gayaza has got married. That is Adelina Lubugo. And she had her kasiki here in this house because this was her brother giving her away. I came to the kasiki of a friend of mine. Then the man tells me, oh, I'm told you've moved now to Makerere, and I said yes. He asked me exactly where are you staying, and without thinking about it, I told him where I am. But then he couldn't. He told me he will come and see me on Monday. He didn't. Then he asked, he works with my father in Mengo. My father was in the palace. So he went and asked my father to direct him to my house.
He really knew what he wanted.
He knew what he wanted. Then he came. Then we started gradually. He came. Eventually, I found that we had some interests the same. He was a handsome man anyway, and he was very well educated because he had got his A-level degree in law. He had been called to the bar. He had started the legal department in Mengo.
That's pretty impressive.
So we got,
That was really impressive.
That was impressive. But I don't think it's his being in Mengo that impressed me. It was his sense of humor. And I used to like, I began to want to meet him more. And we met more and more. Then he told me his goal. And eventually I said yes.
Now, reading this book, her biography, It's a Pity She's Not a Boy, you draw a conclusion that no matter how disadvantaged you are, you too can come out of that village and make it. I quote, "Often, people say that rural girls and boys are disadvantaged and will not achieve as much as town people. I have written this to show you that in my case, I started from a very rural background and got to where I am today. Gender has often made girls lose their self-esteem, but to you girls everywhere, I say, do not let anybody make you lose your self-esteem." It's a Pity She's Not a Boy is already in bookshops. Buy your daughter one, buy your wife one, or you could as well buy yourself one and to your son, and read about this amazing woman and how her story can help you change the mindset of many people to date about young women. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. Like and comment, tell us what you think, and if you have anyone on mind that you think we should be talking to, whose story you would like to listen to or even watch, please let us know and we'll look for them. We'll bring you their story. Thank you so much. My name is Biryomumaisho.